Yag satini takat yuhan gonalchish hadi ade dag unyagi ya yagi dis yadi jin kat kadech yawachi. Good to see everybody. Thank you for coming here today. It's the fourth day of the week or Thursday. It's September or dis yadi, and 12 days have passed this month. Today, Shirley and I wanted to share a little bit more about our own backgrounds using the Tlingit terms and phrases that we taught you. Some of you are familiar and you're using them. That's great. We want to help share that knowledge with our new class members as well. We'll make time to talk about language interests. Of course, we always design our lessons for the class, but if there are particular interests that you're wanting to learn by December, you can share those with us and we'll incorporate them as we're able. We'll also go over vowels today, the vowel sounds, um, talk a little bit more about names for the class and our schedule. And then we wanted to share our email addresses with folks so that if you're looking to use a pet name to use in class in Tlingit and their hobbies you like, you can email them both to Shirley and to me. And that way, Shirley and I can collaborate, look up things together during our prep periods, and help you choose a pet name for class. So I'll put these in the chat because I know that writing email address is always like a little tricky. I'll put it in the chat. Like I said, please include us both in the email so that we're all on the same page. And the first one I put is mine, and the second one, as Kendall, is Shirley's email address. Any questions about that so far? Okay, cool. A little bit more about our backgrounds. I'll let Shaksanikik go first, but I wrote her Tlingit name on the top for folks that want to write it down and practice. And then her clan name, her clans. But Shirley, did you want to introduce yourself?
Okay. Uh, Now my Tlingit name, I said it on the first day, Sharksani Keek. And I think I mentioned Jenny Kunat gave me her name when I was born. And Jenny Kunat was really famous Chilkat weaver. My mother uh, was Kagwantan and Chilkat from the Haines area. Um, she was born and raised there. And when she married my dad, then they lived in Huna. That's where I was born and raised. My father was Daktain Tan from the Raven's Nest House, and he was head of that particular group. The Tlingit uh, did not have one big chief like you hear on TV movies, me big chief. Uh, they didn't have such a thing. They were a council of chiefs, and there is kind of a leader in each group that could call a get together and help make some decisions, but they never made decisions on their own. So that's what I grew up with in Huna, speaking the language and hearing it in the way that my parents handled it was to uh, tell me stories and so that it would correct me and also get me on the right path as a Lingit woman to as to how uh, I should behave and uh, what I can do and what I shouldn't do. So that was very important, and I think that having to sit and listen to these stories, and usually we're not expected to make comments and or ask questions, but we had to listen very carefully to what was told to us. And I learned that if the story was repeated again the next day or so, I better pay attention because I'm still doing something wrong. Otherwise, they wouldn't repeat the story. So it's just unspoken things like that that kind of frustrates other people, but it never did with me. I just had to know and figure out that this was a process of thinking through some things that was pretty difficult for uh, my university classmates who were required to sit and think about certain things. They I noticed. I mentioned it because I was a little bit surprised to find out how irritated they were about that. So uh, the the Bureau of Indian Affairs made sure that their target for all of us was to give up speaking the language, and it was too bad uh, for us to have to go through that. And I thought it was really wonderful as things were being introduced to the Tlingit culture. The old people, the people that spoke the language, were able to come up with names and words to give to these different items that were introduced, and some of them are pretty clever. So it was something that completely had to stop because they decided to be more forceful about speaking our language, English only. So we finally got to the place. Those that are my age uh, decided not to teach the language to their children because we didn't want them to go through what we had to go through because of speaking the language. So, but then because uh, the language uh, after contact didn't grow because of the forceful method they used to have us give it up. No new words were formed after that time. So there was a really large gap. Uh, According to the studies that they did, they estimated that by the year 2000, Lingit language would become extinct. And but Southeast really jumped in there and began to really work hard on bringing back the language. So uh, I think they've really done a good job. Some of the traditional speakers that I grew up with, we would get together and at one time we felt pretty sad because some of the methods that were used and the terms and things were now gone because of the new speakers who didn't experience the same thing we did. So, and we were sad about that, but the language was kind of revived uh, with the new speakers. But it's been a really hard task to come up with new terminology about things that have been introduced since that time. So uh, sometimes in the get-togethers, they come up with different ideas, but nobody agrees. So it's not uh, published or written down as to the different terms for computers and TVs and all the different technology things that have come around since. I don't think maybe Juno has more information on that, but it's quite a task to try to catch up. You just can't. So it's really hard to go with. Uh, I, I think you hear a phone in the background. It's my husband's phone is so loud.
That's okay. We can't hear it too bad.
Yeah. So it's something that that we had to deal with. Those of us that are traditional speakers, when we listen to the new speakers, they do have an accent. They have we call it the university accent,
Yeah,
uh, but it's good, and I accept it. Uh, I Some of the words have been changed to a different meaning, and I think one that stands out and everybody uses it is the thank you and you're welcome. And when I was growing up, it was Gunachish Hoho is stood for thank you very much. Uh, some speakers get up and say Gunachish, Gunachish, Gunachish. Never ever did that. It was always uh, thank you very much. It was sufficient, and so it's uh, but now it's changed when you say Gunachish and somebody says ho ho, that doesn't mean very much. It means uh, you're welcome. It's come to mean you're welcome, and I accept it. I accept the changes because that means the language is still growing. Uh, and I sometimes I think about the Japanese uh, who they have a rule with the younger generation that they cannot talk about any new uh, developed item if they don't have a Japanese word for it. In other words, you're not allowed to talk about uh, the different new technology things unless you put a name on it. So I don't know because of the way we're so spread out. It's really difficult to get together on that. But I learned to speak English in the primary area of school. I think the first two grades was the hardest because of being battered. Um, my third grade year, I happened to go to Juneau because of a job my dad had for a year. And I think I mentioned that uh, we went into the building, and when I came in, it was a beautiful, beautiful place. But there was not one stick of furniture in there. No desks, no chairs, no books, no blackboard, uh, nothing. So the teacher sat on the floor and we sat around him. But that was the first time and the only time I had a native teacher, and it was really great. So it just was uh, something that once the uh, being battered stopped, uh, or I can't remember any punishment. I think the punishment for slipping up and saying native words, they looked down on you for that. So you had to quit doing it. Uh, so as you went along, it finally got to the place where we only spoke English, including Mount Edgecombe, where I went to high school. Mount Edgecombe had, at the beginning, only uh, when they started, there was 500 girls and 500 boys, and from every tribe in the state. And, and that was a real good experience for me to be among them. But going back to Jenny Conant, Shaksani Keat, there is, I think there's a prayer that's written in the oral uh, storybook by the Downhowers, and also another one that there was two times where she spoke. Uh, the other one was a speech that she made. But the wonderful thing about her was when she was still young, uh, someone got a hold of the Chilkat blanket, and it was these blankets were first made by, I think, by the Simshan. Uh, uh, History might correct me on that, but it was introduced to the Chilkats, and Jenny Conant was part of it. They decided to unravel the blanket so they could see how it was woven, and how the colors were introduced, and they found that some of the yarn, not all of it, I guess, uh, had cedar cedar bark uh, twisted into the yarn, so it would be a really small, thin strip of cedar bark that's inside those blankets. And red cedar is a natural repellent to moth. So that's why they find these blankets that are hundreds of years old that are so thin and light, and you kind of hope that it doesn't fall apart when they show it. Um, but anyway, they unravel slowly, keeping a record of how everything was done, and they took the whole blanket apart, and because of that, they were able to reproduce a blanket. So that is extremely impressive kind of investigation that was done, studying a new group. The other blanket that is pretty famous in nowadays is the raven's tail weave. And the raven's tail blanket is much lighter because it's all yarn, I think. It's woven a little differently. Uh, the blanket, I think this type of blanket came from the Seattle area, and the anthropologists that were looking at this thought that it was what kind of an animal yarn did they use, and the answer was simple from the ladies down there. They said from the dog. So apparently they raised these special dogs, and I saw a picture of one of them that they used the hair from the dog to make these really light weight raven's tail weaving blankets. So those weavers, really uh, look into and study that. I don't know anything about it. I tried weaving once and it was terrible. Uh, I needed to do a lot of study and practice, but I felt like I didn't have time. But the time came when uh, they decided to start reteaching the language uh, to to anybody that was interested. And they asked me here in Anchorage if I could do it. I agreed right away. I was just so excited about it. But as I began to think about it, I thought, how in the world am I going to teach this huge, big thing that was put upon me? And I don't even know how to start. I wasn't like Jenny Conant to scientifically figure it out. But I was fortunate at that time. Sea Alaska began to work with people that wanted to teach the language. So I joined the groups and found that actually can bring down to my level and beginner level in teaching the language and the materials that they provided. Uh, has been really helpful. What I'm really thankful for is Nora Downhauer and her husband developing a writing and spelling method that really works for teachers. So we're hoping, as we're getting ready for this class, we're talking about encouraging anybody that is in the class to keep going further to be able to teach it. Uh, I I taught it to high school and to young adults, and I was asked to teach it to children, and I found out that it was really difficult. Uh, Not that they were difficult to teach, but they caught on so fast that the plan that I had really didn't work because uh, I couldn't keep up with them, and the energy that came because of them being in the room was really different too. So uh, make sure if you want to teach the language, if you can teach the young group, and I'm really impressed with the programs that they have in Juneau for teaching the young who really speak well in their language and songs and leadership that they provide. So it was it was something that we all work together to try to revive the language or keep it going. And I'm happy to say that I thank all of you for being here because you're helping us to keep the language alive.
Mm. Wa eto gonalchi sha inki nigi ishkatnigi ka yukatangi gonalchi shaha. Thank you for ah. Did you want to say something else, Shirley?
No, I just said, okay.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Shirley, for sharing with us your story and your words. Did anybody in the group have any comments or responses or questions for Shakhsani Keek? I see a thumbs up. A lot was shared. Shirley and I have talked together before about like how do we work as a team to teach language. Shirley experienced so much in her history, including the attempted genocide of our languages and a lot of racism that went behind those school practices and the laws. And so now we work together to heal ourselves and our students and create safe spaces for people to revive our languages. And so my background is a second language learner of the generation who are didn't grow up hearing or speaking our native languages and we want to learn and help teach. So I add in a different element and I basically view myself as a gateway for people to learn Tlingit with elders. I speak the university accent. It's pretty typical when you're a second language learner, meaning you didn't grow up speaking that language, but you're now learning to speak sort of like a textbook style of language. And then our goal is always to try to close the gap between how we're speaking and then how our fluent master speakers pronounce words. Um, so a little bit about me. Nila Toraya Gunana Sayi Lekach Enach Anna Clark Jamanach Hatsiti Gunana Yadia Yechet Gashtach Suad Kechat Uawat Ka Singetu Hatangi Kagunanayu Hatangi Kuatlatuch Hatsiti. So my name is Nila Toga. That's a Koyukon Athabascan name. And on my mother's side, I'm white American of German descent. We come from the Funkhauser clan of northern Germany. And on my father's side, I'm child of the Koyukon Athabascan people from Caltag. I grew up in Seward, Alaska, and I currently am a teacher of the Tlingit and Koyukon languages. Shakhsani Keek asked me to share about the teaching certificate program that I went through to become a Tlingit language teacher. And I wanted to share a little bit about the Alaska Heritage Institute teaching scholarship that I received and that led me to my career path today. So the program was called Hayukatangi Dei, and it means our language pathway. Um, it's a federally funded program. It's a partnership between Alaska Heritage Institute and the University of Alaska Southeast. It was a very generous scholarship. They paid for my tuition, my books and materials for class. They even paid me for my time working at transcribing and translating materials. So, as a novice, as a beginner in the language, I was starting to study recordings of fluent elders speaking Tlingit and just doing my very best to type down what they're saying or handwrite what they're saying. and then looking it up. And that's a whole art form. But part of the scholarship program was that they paid me for my time to practice doing that. And I think that's a very unique opportunity. They paid for our summer internships, as well as our housing stipend. The Shirley mentioned the Juno school programs that are available in so including Cliquet and Haida has a language nest, which is an immersive school program for early childhood. They also have the TCLL program in Juneau, and so I got to work with folks in different organizations. Um, the scholarship included our housing stipend. We all had to move to Juneau to spend time together, and it funded three language cohorts, one for Tlingit, Khatkil, and Smelgach. So we spent a lot of time together studying, teaching, and just growing into our future career paths. Teaching practicum, like I mentioned, I did mine where you shadow a teacher and learn how they do their classroom management, how they put their lessons together. And I was lucky enough to shadow Dr. Ginny or Mary Cruz Folletti in the Language Nest. The classes, so we also enrolled as full-time students at UAS. And so some of the classes that were in the program included Indigenous teaching methodologies. So what methods do we use to teach people that reflect more of our native cultural values? Um, Language revitalization, including field methods, how to operate a recorder, and where to place it if you're sitting with an elder and they're telling you a story, how to get good audio quality recordings. Language classes, we improved our fluency through classes. And then there are electives. For example, I got to take Northwest Coast carving with Wayne Price. And that was very lucky that I got to do that. Some of the requirements of the program, like I mentioned, you had to live in Juneau. You had to complete the certificate program teaching Indigenous languages. We signed full-time contracts annually for 3 years. So during that time, I was all in on the program. Enroll as a full-time student. If you do something like that, if you get a scholarship that pays for your housing and your time, you have to pay taxes on it. So you need to make sure that you set aside 20 to 30% so that you're not faced with a big bill afterwards. And then you had to maintain good academic standing. You had to watch your grades. My personal experiences. One of them was that my first practicum I took under Nay at Goldbelt Heritage Foundation when she worked there. I got to watch how she conducted an online language class. My second practicum, like I mentioned, I shadowed Dath Jenny at Hayukatangi Kudi, our language nest. My first summer internship, I shadowed Ida or Heather Burge, yeah, and Zeosh James Crippen. My second summer internship, I worked at Sea Alaska Heritage Institute learning transcription with Weha, Jeff Lear, and Shashi. I forget, Will Geiger is his English name. My electives, like I said, were Northwest Coast carving. And then this is something I think was helpful too. I had a volunteer side project and I started a study group initially to help me so that I just learned better in a group. But it sort of became part of my teaching career and gave me the tool sets I needed, like how to host a meeting on Zoom, how to make sure everybody can see everybody and hear everybody, which buttons and screens I have to have open, and it helped me set the path for being able to teach online. I wanted to share that when I was in the program, I was really, really nervous because I had just stopped working at a 9 to 5 not nonprofit organization where I had a desk job that paid me full time. And then it was a lot of changes to move to Juneau and work as a contractor on a scholarship program. And the whole time I was worried, okay, I'm investing all this 3 years of my life into this program. Um, am I going to be able to make money after I graduate? Are there going to be jobs? Will I be able to pay some of the bills that are stacking up while I'm in school? And it was a little stressful. I remember being on the phone a lot with my mom and trying to like talk myself down because I would get a little nervous about it. But I wanted to share that once I graduated with that certificate, I had a lot of job offers. The first one was to teach this class with Shirley for Tlingit and Haida. I also worked for Gold Belt Heritage Foundation. I worked for, and I still teach for Hatuch Lachish. I worked for Sea Alaska Heritage Institute. I, I still work for Doyon Foundation, which is my regional native nonprofit. I also got to do some transcription for the Children of the Taku Society in Canada. Um, and Shirley recommended me for a job at UAA, and I still teach Tlingit at UAA because of that. So that was a lot, but I wanted to share just what the program was and the opportunities that it opened up for me. Is anyone in here hoping to become a language teacher?
I am not, but I was considering it for my daughter because she has been fortunate enough to attend the STEAM program in the summer for
Nice.
about the past 3 years, I think has been.
Mm.
And she is, she's in love with the Tlingit culture and Alaska. So I know she definitely is considering going to school there after she graduates.
Awesome. That's really cool to hear. We'll be keeping her in mind. There's so much work in the Tlingit language revitalization community that I'm always here if people have questions on you want to dedicate more time into it. Shirley, did you want to add anything else before we go on to vowels? We have 15 minutes left.
Yeah, I think we forgot to mention the Nora Downhauer and her husband's book,
Uh,
first book that was printed about the language, and it contains the alphabet and some ideas for classes. Um, it was a project that included CDs. So you play the CD as you read the pages, and that was pretty interesting, but a little bit frustrating for new speakers because they went too fast. But
mm,
it does give a lot of cultural information in that book, and also you can really depend on Nora Downhauer for giving some really classical uh, information and talks that was included in the book. So uh, I think the book is still available. It might be on Amazon,
mm,
but the CDs, I don't know. I'm not sure. I think the one I have, the CDs are gone and used up, but
mm,
I think I still have the book.
mm,
So if you run across it, it does have some really interesting cultural information. In this class, we not only teach the language, but we want to make sure that you're also familiar with the history and the culture uh, of the people that live in Southeast Nakhish.
Ah, is that the book called Beginning
Not
Tlingit?
beginning. Okay.
Okay, cool. I have it up on the screen for folks, and this is the first book that I learned from, and I forgot that there were CDs.
Yeah. Yeah, I had the CDs, but I think it all disappeared.
Oh,
Yeah.
dang. Okay, because I was remembering hearing, like the dialogues they have in this book, I remember hearing them somewhere.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you
Oh,
match the CD to the chapter that you're looking at.
yeah. Here's the teacher and student guide. Yeah, this is a really good book. Okay, I'm going to share the link to this in the chat for folks to check it out.
You might already have the book.
Yeah,
It's worth looking through again.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the link in the chat. If you already have it, that's great. If you need it, um, you can either check Amazon if it's available for sale, or you can download the digitized version by clicking this link, beginning Tlingit. And then it'll open up a screen like this and select this download icon. Okay, let's do vowels just to get you guys speaking. We have 15 minutes left,
Or
and
refresh your memory of how it sounds.
yeah. So for a few of you, this might be review, but vowels in Tlingit can either be short in duration or long. If they're short, it's written with a single letter. If it's long, like you see on the right here, it's written with a double letter. And it just means how long in time you're making that sound. It can also be low tone or high tone. So Tlingit is a tonal language. So if it's written without a tone marker, it's low tone. If it has an accent mark above it, this marks your tone, it's high tone. So let's practice these. Singular A. Everybody go ahead and unmute your mics and repeat after me.
Uh, uh,
Oh,
High tone.
uh, uh,
um, I think we can work on the high tones as we come to them. For now, they should just learn the 8 vowels
Okay.
and recognize it when they see it, how to say it.
Okay, that sounds good. So we won't do high tone. We'll just do short and long. So let's do all these. So we did short short E. Repeat after me.
eh, eh,
Hmm. And then I.
eh, eh,
Is like
uh,
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 And on the long vowels, a double A. Ah.
uh,
oh,
Mhm. EI is A.
eh,
Double E. E.
e,
And then double O. Ooh.
ooh, ooh,
Yeah.
I always want to say double ooh.
Yeah.
mhm,
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, so it's uh, the letters that are short is the hardest one to remember. But once you learn the vowels, and this is why we really stress it, is that you're able to figure out words when you can get words when you see it. Or if somebody asks you, "Can you help me write my name?" And in listening to them, you can figure out which vowels are important and how to say it. So it's a single letter A, ah,
Ah,
uh,
double A, ah,
ah,
uh, uh,
ah.
uh,
ah,
uh,
Good. That's like when the doctor says, say ah. Okay. Uh, single letter E, eh,
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 E-I, A,
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 E-I, A.
a,
a,
Okay,
a,
back up to the top. Single letter A, ah.
ah,
uh,
Double A, ah.
ah,
uh,
Single letter E, eh.
eh,
eh, eh,
E-I, A.
a,
a,
Okay, down to the I. Single letter I, I.
eh,
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 The, what's the long letter?
double E,
Double E. Double E, E.
e,
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 Those of you that are Tlingit speakers, they giggle when we come to that one because uh, you say that when you see something gross. So single letter I,
eh,
eh,
double
eh,
E,
E,
back
e,
up to the
e,
top, a single letter A,
ah,
ah,
double A,
ah,
ah,
single letter E,
eh,
eh,
E-I-A,
eh,
a,
single letter I,
eh,
eh, eh,
double E, E,
e, e,
single letter U,
uh,
oh,
uh,
double O, ooh,
ooh,
uh,
single letter U,
uh,
oh,
uh,
double O, ooh.
ooh,
uh, uh,
Back up to the top, single letter A,
ah,
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 double A,
ah,
ah,
single letter E,
eh,
eh, eh,
E-I-A,
eh,
a,
eh,
single letter I,
eh,
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 double E, E,
e,
e,
single letter U,
uh,
oh,
double O, ooh.
uh,
ooh,
Sounds good. Sometimes I'm asked by the students, how long are you going to make us do this? As long as I hear that you're not reading it right or saying it right, we're going to keep practicing. And that makes them work a little bit harder to remember the short letters, especially make sure you get it right. So uh, that sounds good. And remember the importance of the letters of all the vowel of all the alphabet. Uh, it's one of the times when I make sure you know how to say the letters. And the other letters that are in the alphabet are naturally introduced in the things that we're doing in class, either through song or through speaking.
mm.
So does anyone have a comment or question on the vowel?
No, looks like people are shaking their heads. They seem comfortable with it.
Okay, the the tone marks that was mentioned appears only on the vowels. So when you see, because we speak a a very monotone language. Um, the tone marks play a very important part of uh, our speech, and also the tone marks, if they're not available, we have words that are the same, but with or without the tone marks, they mean different things. So uh, TEEL with a tone mark on the first E. Peace,
Teeth,
peace.
teeth.
It's a shoe.
Ah, teeth.
P PEEL without a tone mark. Peace,
Peace.
peace. Scar on your somewhere.
Oh.
So, so yeah, that's why uh, we try to really watch when you get the tone marks in the right place. And uh, some traditional speakers agree that the big change in the language is the fact that the English way of saying things kind of creeps into our new Lingit. So I think that the biggest trap is when the in the English language, when you ask a question, you have the strongest tendency um, to apply it to a Klingit, uh, because in English, the when they ask a question, the voice goes up on the end, and they say, "How are you?
Mm-hmm.
How are you?" I'm exaggerating so you can hear it. Uh, and Tlingit would say, "How are you?"
Mm.
So it's when we speak English, it creeps into the same thinking, creeps into that. So
Mm.
um, and Tlingit we say wasa ihati. Uh, we're asking somebody how they are.
Mm-hmm.
When you learn that asking people how they are, wasa ihati is just a real quick question. And the usual answer is Tatwasan. Nothing's wrong. So we don't say wasaiya tea,
Mm-hmm.
and that sometimes comes out that way because the English speaking mind, uh, tends to creep into that. So we kind of watch for that too.
Mm.
Are there any comments or questions?
Goodness, geesh, that's a really good point. We have about 2 minutes left if anyone has comments or questions.
Or chat?
Or chat, yeah.
If you have
Um,
any questions or problems in trying to spell your name, or uh, you can usually figure out the words as to what it means, but we can't tell you why or how you happen to get it,
mm.
why they developed that word. So,
So on Tuesday, we'll have a little discussion with folks. Please be thinking about your language interests that you wouldn't mind having incorporated in class, and like I mentioned, Shirley and I will work on including those in our lesson planning. Um, I'll share with you our outline and then we'll talk about it. I think the easiest way for me to share our outline is just to give you the link. And it might change as we go, but at least you can see it real time as it's updated. So I'll share this link with folks in case you want to see ahead what we're going to be working on. I'll put it in the chat. And then for our next class, looking ahead, we're planning on talking about cultural practices in Ku'ik, and we might have a guest speaker as well. So we can be looking forward to that as we solidify the dates. And if there's no questions, that's time. So everybody have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you here on Tuesday at the same time and same Zoom link.